12 months ago, I made a decision to build my productivity system into a more hybrid system. If you like, a more human system. I'd begun to feel that technology was beginning to crowd out the human side of making decisions about what I was going to work on. After all, I was throwing all my tasks into Todoist, and I was then thinking I've got to do them all, and it felt almost as if my digital tools were telling me, this is what you must do, this is what you must do. It was like a computer was controlling my day, and it was beginning to feel a bit uncomfortable. Now, the problem I have is that I love my technology. I love playing with digital tools to see if they can make me a little bit more effective at what I do. And so it was a bit of a difficult thing to do. It wasn't like I thought, okay, I'm just going to go back to what I was using in 2010, which is basically a Quo Vadis notebook where Now, this is going to be difficult. I'd read or watched a video on something called getting done. I'm not going to use the bad word, but it was GSD, getting done. And it was a really, really simple system. What I was doing was I was writing down my calendar of appointments, my teaching appointments on the right-hand side of the page, and then I would write in my notes, things that needed to be done on that day. And it was all contained in a notebook like this, completely messy, as you can see. I wasn't too worried about it. But I do remember at that time, I was actually doing two different jobs. I was running my own business, I was teaching, and I still worked part-time for the company I'd worked full-time for. It was a very, very busy time of my life. But the iPhone had only just come out in Korea, and there wasn't that many task managers around. Evernote was around, and I was using Evernote, but it was a bit of it wasn't working exactly as I wanted it to. So this was my life. This went in my bag, and I carried this with me everywhere I went. And it was brilliant. I honestly have to say that this was brilliant. As you can probably see here, I was writing out my appointments down the side by hand every evening, and then all the things that I needed to do there, when I did them, I just crossed them off. Now, of course, the big problem with something like this is, what about all those future projects? What about all the project plans? What about things that I might want to do in 3 or 4 months' time? And that is where digital tools are brilliant, because you can throw stuff in there and you can eventually come to them or make a decision about them in a month's time or even in 6 months' time. Then gradually, over a number of years, and I'm sure you can all probably relate to this, technology crept in. Calendars became all digital. My whole to-do list was all digital. Everything was digital. My note-taking was digital because the iPad had come out, and then the Apple Pencil had come out, and it was great. Everything was digital. I could type it all in, and it went up into the sky, and then I could come back to it later, which I never really did. So last year, this is where I came to. I thought, okay, I am pretty much 100% digital, but it isn't the best system. What is the best system? Well, the best system is a hybrid of the two, analog system and a digital system. So where do analog tools beat digital tools? Well, one of the most important things I discovered is when you are planning out projects, or whenever you're planning out anything that you want to do, the initial stages are always best done on paper. Just from a mental perspective, it slows you down. It gets you to actually think a little bit deeper. Now, all my projects now, or even these videos, or anything else that needs a bit of thought and planning, I will always start in this book. This is what I call my planning book. One per year. So this one is for this year, so it's still quite new. My book from last year is almost full, was almost full by the end of the year. Irrespective of that, I start a new book every year. Just makes it easier for future reference. After I've done that, after those these handwritten notes have gone into the planning book, and once I'm satisfied that everything that I need to think about has been pulled out, then I will scan it and put it into my Evernote system. And that becomes the project note and then we move from there. Now, I don't do this with YouTube videos. YouTube videos are just always in here. They don't need to go digital, but the longer, bigger projects will always end up digitally, and then I can pull out the main points, create checklists, and everything else that needs to be done. But there is another area where pen and paper is far better than actually a digital system. Now, I've been using Todoist for well over 10 years now. I love it. Todoist is absolutely phenomenal. It can be as small or as large as you want it to be, and it will cover it. It is powerful, yet simple. And it's great. You can throw stuff in there very quickly. You can get it in on your phone. You can get it in on your desktop. You can throw a ton of stuff at it, and Todoist will keep saying, give me more, give me more. And it's great. However, collecting stuff, Todoist, and any digital tool for that matter, is brilliant. And I still use Todoist to collect things that I need to do, particularly when I'm out and about. But on a daily basis, this is where problems start beginning, because the more stuff you throw into a to-do list, the more you think, not necessarily you have to, but you think you have to do. And it gradually becomes overwhelming. But on a day-to-day basis, what really matters? Well, the only thing that matters is what are you going to do today? And you'll see lots of YouTube videos using all sorts of different systems and showing you this wonderfully curated list for the day. And it's great. I mean, it really is. But you don't have to go to one extreme or the other. You can still use, as I do, Todoist as your collecting tool and your organizing tool. I organize my tasks on a weekly basis when I do my weekly planning in Todoist, because digital tools are not so good at that. Sorry, paper tools are not so good at that. Digital tools are phenomenal at that. I can have my calendar on the screen, I can have Todoist to the right, left of that, and I can make sure that my days and week is not unrealistic. So it makes sense to do all that digitally. But on a daily basis, I don't want to be seeing hundreds and hundreds of tasks that I have to do at some point in the future. It's demoralizing. It's overwhelming. It makes you feel anxiety. There's this low-level buzz of anxiety. So what you can do in that situation is you can use a very simple, a very cheap A7 ring-bound notebook. Now, I'm not sponsored by Maruman, but I highly recommend these Nemesine notebooks from Maruman. I don't get any money from that. To be fair, you could use field notes, you could use any little notebook. In fact, actually, I was looking through this old journal, and I found, it's not journal, it was actually my GTD book, I called it. I found a little notebook like this, and sure enough, in here, I did keep in things like my to-do list in here. So something like this on a daily basis would actually work brilliantly. So, but going back to this, the great thing about these ring-bound notebooks is you can write out the things that must be done today. And I've done that. I don't do it so much now because I have a Franklin planner that I've been using for 4 or 5 months now. But this is the principle behind really the Franklin planner. On a daily basis, you write out the most important things that you must do that day. Not the little stuff like checking email, replying to all your actionable email. That can stay in the digital system. That's more of a routine. But these are the big rocks, the big things that must be done today. It takes you less than 5 minutes to write that every morning. And then you can leave this on your desk and it's there. You're not distracted by hundreds, if not thousands of other tasks that are just going to make you feel anxious because you're going to have to do them, or you think you're going to have to do them at some point. This gives you clarity, gives you real focus on the day. These are the most important things to do today. I am going to get them done. When they're done, by all means, go into your digital system and start checking off some of the other low-level tasks that need to be done. So today I have a pretty much hybrid system. All my planning starts in here at the very beginning. Always starts on paper, A4 notebook. Then it gets into my digital system. I will scan the plans into my digital system, in my case Evernote, pull out the main points, and that becomes the project note. Makes sense, because this gives me that deeper sense of thinking. I can grab this book, I can go to a coffee shop or cafe, I can go downstairs into the dining room, and I can just spend an hour without any digital distractions and just plan out what needs to be done next. It's not just about projects. You can plan your year, you can plan your life. Use one of these first. Then I will scan it into Evernote and job's done. It's great. As far as my tasks are concerned, the vast majority are going to go directly into Todoist, because to me, Todoist is where all my holding pens are for tasks that need to be done at some point in the future. And also as I'm driving or as I'm out and about walking Louis, my dog, it just makes sense. Digital tool there is just, the phone is just an unbelievable collection tool. However, when I'm sat at my desk, I generally don't use that. I generally just grab my scratch pad. This is what I call my scratch pad. This is another Maruman Nemesis notebook. This is the B5 notebook. This is always on my desk. And it's to the left because I'm left-handed, and there's always a pen on top of it. So at the moment today, I've noticed I have my Lamy 2000 fountain pen because I'm a huge fountain pen lover. You can probably see my eyes light up when I look at a fountain pen. So I have my Lamy 2000 fountain pen sat on there, and whenever I think, oh, I need to do that, I can quickly write it down and get back to the work that I'm doing, which is generally digital. I could do that into Todoist, but then I have to come out of, I get distracted from the screen. When I'm writing, I'm in my writing app and it's just there, I'm writing. If I suddenly have an idea, I can just straight write it down on the notebook, come back to it later. The thing I do before I finish the day is I just go through here, and then I will add anything into Todoist later at the end of the day that can be then planned for in the future. So you don't have to be one or the other. You don't have to be all in on paper. You don't have to be all in on digital. What you can do is just consider, where are the strengths of both? I find planning on paper, and I think there is scientific evidence for this too, that you will think better when you're writing on paper. But that's just for the initial part. Then it can go digital. It can go into your notes-based system. Now, I've noticed that actually quick notes are faster. No matter what digital tool you're using, you will find that digital quick notes are always going to be slower than having a pen and paper on your desk, because you can always quickly write things down, get back to what you're doing, job done. It's great. So that's why I've been asked a number of times, a lot of times recently, is how do I still use Todoist? How do I still use Evernote? They're still there. They're important parts of my whole system. Todoist is where I do a lot of the planning. Evernote is where I do a lot of all my resource collections, project notes, meeting notes, everything's in there. But on a day-to-day basis, a simple notebook like this is telling me what needs to be done. And of course, the digital calendar, I should say, is way better than a paper-based calendar, just simply because you can move the blocks around. Although, because I'm a Franklin Planner user, one of the things I really do enjoy about the Franklin Planner, and it really does work very, very well, is, although today is not, I don't have many appointments today, but you put your appointments down this side and then your to-do list here. That way you can see if you've got a realistic day, which is a really nice feature of the Franklin Planner. Now, if you want to learn more about how I'm getting on with my Franklin Planner, then this video up here is the one to watch next.